For a lot of people, life leading up to graduation is pretty simple. It's pretty much just dealing with grades and drama. But my life has never really been just that. There's never been anything normal about my life, especially when I went home. I was in about 6th grade when I realized my mind worked a little different than others. That it wasn't just different, but it was wrong. I didn't accept it. That's about the time when I started to hate myself. But it was okay, because at least I was the only one that knew things were like this. That was until the next year, when I was 12, when my mom threw out all my hand-me-downs I liked to wear from my boy cousins and took me shopping in the girls section. I still hear her words from that day ring in my head sometimes. Boys don't like girls that dress like boys. That's when I knew she had to know. She had to hate me. And for the next 3 years, that's just how I felt. I felt alienated from home by my family and at school by my friends. Even though, looking back, maybe I was just too sensitive. But at the end of freshman year, things took a turn. Suddenly things were different. And for a while, I felt like the daughter my parents wanted. I didn't hate myself anymore. I could smile, and I was happy. So imagine my confliction when that happiness was without warning replaced by different happiness. The one thing that took it away 4 years ago was suddenly the one reason I couldn't stop smiling. And I knew it wasn't going to be any less wrong to everyone now than it was before. But if there was one thing I'd gained in those 2 years of being normal, it was self-confidence. And with that, I'd grown my own opinions and my own views, my own acceptance. I knew how my parents would see it, but that couldn't stop the way I felt. The next 6 months were awkward ones. I didn't tell my parents, but everybody else knew. I know they'd heard it around many times, but I guess it was just one of those don't ask, don't tell things. Until one night this past December, not long before winter break. They confronted me, and I couldn't lie anymore. I admitted everything. I had expected it to go bad, but actually, it went worse. After fighting and me getting kicked out, a physical fight broke out on my way towards the door, to the point my sister called my grandparents for help. When they arrived, my grandpa went in the house to calm down my parents. My grandma and my sister stayed outside in the cold with me. They were both crying, but I wasn't. They were sad because of the way I am. I wasn't going to be sad for that, because I was okay with myself, and that's all I cared about. But then my grandma said something through her tears. "I'm sorry they're doing this to you, but just give them time. They can't fight you forever, because they love you." I heard what she said, but I didn't care, because I didn't care if they came around. They don't care about me, and they never would again. Once we went back inside, it was agreed I wouldn't be kicked out, because we've seen what being abandoned can do. My grandparents left, and I was left to fend for myself. Once they were gone, it was admitted that the reason I wasn't allowed to leave is because I deserved to stay here and face the consequences of the choices I've made. I spent the entire winter break on lockdown. Seeing Alyssa again wasn't to be mentioned until January 5th, a month after the fiasco. I guess they expected that to be enough time to forget about her, but it wasn't. Eventually the time came, and it was my parents that agreed that I wouldn't be allowed to see or talk to her until I was 18 and on my own. After that, I think they tried to bribe my happiness. They ungrounded me, they gave me more freedom than I'd ever had, and they let me buy an iPhone. My mother even made more of an effort to pay attention to me, rather than always being wrapped up in my little sister. I never thought about why before, but one day I came to the realization that they didn't want me to hate them. They didn't want me to feel like I didn't belong in this house, the house I've spent almost 18 years of my life calling home. My grandma was right. She accepted me, and my grandpa was in that house for an hour that night, fighting for my happiness. Even my sister accepted me, even if she wished it could be different. This is all because they love me, even though I couldn't see it before. The past 11 months have been hard. The last 5 months have been even harder. But there are just some things I can't change. But I have support from my friends, even some of my family, and most importantly, from myself. I know my parents will be able to look past it one day, because I believe love is stronger than any other emotion, even hate. It just has to start with us. We can't expect acceptance from others until we first accept ourselves. I've taken that first step, and now it's time for the rest to come. This, I believe.